Ran Myugsun opened his eyes, but there was darkness in front of him. Just as the system madman told her about the settings 5 minutes ago. This is the first world she has been transferred after signing an agreement with the little madman. Esigans is the brother of her physical fiancé and the first male she wants to attack. The little madman is a book-piercing system, dedicated to saving the male gods who were in the book, clearly approaching the female protagonist, but inexplicably robbed of the female protagonist due to the appearance of the male lead, and then blackened and destroyed the entire world. And the reason why she is willing to enter the collapsed or about to collapse world to complete the task is because she wants to survive. She has died tragically in the real world, and the little lunatic promised to help her reshape her after completing the task. Body. Every time she saves a world without falling apart, she will get 10 points, which can be exchanged for various props, including the body she wants and the tools to travel back to the original world. In order to return to the original world, even if the male Sign-Ze in this world is a pervert, she must attack him. Host, your eyes are now blinded by Signs. According to the story of the collapse, Signs will kill the male lead Sign-Ze in this world during the operation to restore his eyesight, and pretend that he is staying by your side. The original heroine learned everything after regaining her eyesight, and wanted to commit suicide but was imprisoned and sexually abused by Signs. The little madman told the story of the collapse of the world very calmly. Ran Mu's mouth twitched. She met a pervert in the first world, and she was temporarily blind. The difficulty of this task is too high. The little madman seemed to know what she was thinking, and said, the host can obtain temporary points through random tasks. Temporary points can only be used in the world where temporary tasks are completed, in exchange for normal vision. Ding! The first random task, kissing the target. Reward points, 1 point. Ran Myugsun was almost powerless to complain. What can I exchange for 1 point? The little madman said happily, because it is the host's first world, so I have a special treatment, as long as 1 point can be exchanged for normal eyesight. Ran Myugsun swallowed the refusal that was close to his lips. In any case, it is better to see than to be blind all the time. Little madman reminder, host, the target of the strategy is approaching. The hostess has the same name as Ran Myugsun. At the moment, the hostess is in the hospital. A week ago, she had a car accident with Ran's father and Ran's mother. Ran's father and Ran's mother died on the spot. The hostess probably had a halo, just a slight scratch. Injury, my eyes are blind, but only need a corneal surgery to return to normal. Ran Myugsun, who had watched the plot in advance, knew that the person who caused the car accident was actually her target, Signs, the brother of the hero of the world. Ran, I'm here to pick you up. A gentle and magnetic voice rang. It is the target of the strategy, Signs. Ran Myugsun had been mentally prepared for a long time, and he hesitated. The delicate the hospital bed looked at the door blankly, Jinji. The man seemed to be taken aback. Unexpectedly, she would admit her voice wrong. But, lowering his eyelashes, he lowered his voice, it's me. Ran Myugsun stretched out his white and slender hands, as if he wanted to touch the man in front of him, but because he couldn't see him, he couldn't touch him all the time. I am here. Signs had a hoarse voice, stepped forward and stood beside her. The bewildered hands immediately hugged his waist and buried his face in his arms, but because of the sitting relationship, the girl's face was actually only buried in his lower abdomen. Great, Jinji, you are finally back. A certain part of his body hardened, but Signs' eyes instantly became cold. Quick wearing Blackening, the sick and charming male god, sweetly exploded the latest chapter address, book/113768.html. Quick wearing and Blackening, a sickly male god, sweet to blow up the full text reading address, .mtlnovel.com/read/113768/. Quick wearing Blackening, a sickly male god, sweet fried text download address, https. Sign-Z again. She was already blind, and he took care of her for a week, but she still only thought of Si who hadn't been there once since her car accident. What is good about Si? Obviously he was the one who grew up with her childhood sweetheart. He spoiled her and he would give her whatever she wanted. However, when he was 18 years old, his father brought home his illegitimate son Si. Later, she fell in love with Si who was rude to her and even dismissed her. He saw with his own eyes that the girl he had been petting for 18 years betrayed him like this, how much he spoiled her in the past 18 years, how much he hated her afterwards. Yes, at this moment Si no longer loves the heroine, but hates more. She is just like the big dog he raised when he was a child. He was lonely and tried his best to make it fat and strong, but he bit himself. The big dog was eventually killed and roasted by him himself. And the girl in front of me. Si looked at the girl buried in his belly and sobbing with cold eyes. Since she also betrayed herself, she will have the same ending. The little madman looked at Si eyes and swallowed. Fortunately, the host can't see it at the moment. It suddenly rejoiced. Si stretched out his hand and stroked Ran Myugsun's hair, his Adam's apple moved, but in the end he just said, "Yeah, I'm back." And Si? He will never come back. His strokes were obviously very light and gentle, but probably because he knew what kind of person he was, Ran Myugsun actually got goosebumps all over. She raised her head, her pupils who lost their focus looked very dazed. Si looked at her and squinted his eyes. She was so at a loss, how simple and deceiving she was, clutching the corner of his clothes, relying on him wholeheartedly and believing in him. So good. I really want to make her blind forever. Si warm fingers gently stroked the corners of Ran Myugsun's eyes, wiping her tears away. Obviously it was a very gentle action, but Ran Myugsun's heart was cold, and his hairs stood up. She tried to pull out a smile and pushed him away. "Jinji, take me home, I don't want to stay here anymore." "It is good." There was the sound of packing things in his ears. As soon as Ran Myugsun relaxed, the little madman's words came in his mind, "Host, Si just smelled the host's underwear." "Hey! Why does he have your underwear in his hand? He hides it close to the heart as a baby. This habit is too abnormal." "Host! Doesn't he always molest you? Oh my god! It's so erotic, so perverted, and raccoon, I like it so much." Ran Myu's mouth twitched. "This kind of thing, you don't have to tell me." The little madman smiled, "The system just helps the invisible host understand the situation." "Is it?" She seriously suspects. There are so many broken worlds under the hands of this little madman, so many blackened male gods, and so enthusiastic about her interaction with this perverted Si. She always feels that the little madman is also a mad system, and Si just as perverted. "Little madman, what the host is thinking, this system can hear you _" Ran Myugsun suddenly stopped talking. Si quickly helped her pack her things and walked to her side. Ran, let's go." He likes to call her Ran as he did when he was a child, because it was a name that belonged to him alone, and everyone else called her Myugsun and Xiaosuan. Ran Myugsun nodded, stretched out her hand, and stood up cautiously. The next second, the cool little hand was held by the man's big hand. "Be careful." There was a bit of pampering and helplessness in his voice. But Ran Myugsun couldn't laugh. This kind of feeling that she can't see anything, can only be controlled by others, she can only go where he tells her to go. It's too bad. Worse still, because she couldn't see it, even with his traction, she still stumbled. So when he reached the top of the stairs, Si let go of her hand and hugged her directly. Quick wearing Blackening, the sick and charming male god, sweetly exploded the latest chapter address, book/113768.html. Quick wearing and Blackening, a sickly male god, sweet to blow up the full text reading address, www.mtlnovel.com/read/113768/quick wearing blackening, a sickly male god, sweet fried text download address, https. In other words, this is his room, his bed? Ran Myugsun's face suddenly twisted. Sijins looked at her petite body sitting on his bed with satisfaction, and touched the tip of her nose. You have a good rest. If you have something to do, call Aunt Lu, I will help you move things over. Okay, thank you, Jin, Ji. She raised her eyes, incomparably pure and authentic. Sijins went out. But the whole room was filled with his breath, and it was okay for the little madman not to say it. Once she said it, she felt uncomfortable even to breathe. There is a feeling of breathlessness. She fumbled and stood up, and opened the window carefully. Not long after, the little madman reminded Sijins that he was back. Ran Myugsun froze for a while, and tried to get back to the bed again, but because she was too anxious, she ran into the table and knocked down the vase on it. The vase suddenly broke to the ground, and she fell down too. Both hands and calves were scratched by the fragments of the vase. The little madman calmly said, "Host, even if you intentionally hurt yourself, Sijins will not stop touching you because of his soft heart." Ran Mu looked away from a guilty conscience. I didn't think so. Sijins was able to sexually abuse the heroine. According to the description in the book, he was excited when he saw the heroine's blood. The thought she had just passed by might be counterproductive. The sound of the broken vase drew Sijins downstairs. As soon as Sijins hit the door, he saw a girl in white fall sitting in the fragments of the vase. Her slender hands and feet were scratched. She was fair. The skin is stained with blood. The bright red color makes her look more beautiful. The smell of blood in the air. Let his blood boil with it. Jinji. The girl stretched out her hands towards him in a daze. Sijins licked his lower lip, walked in front of her, sighed, "Why are you so careless?" I think of it, blowing the hair." In the next second, the man picked her up and let her sit back on the bed. "You will get sick if you blow it on again." "Okay." Aunt Lu came over with the medicine kit. "Sir, I come." Sijins glanced at her. Aunt Lu is going to prepare something that she likes to eat. "Yes." Aunt Lu glanced at the two of them with some hesitation and then went downstairs. Sijins glanced at Aunt Liu's back and narrowed his eyes. Had it not been for Aunt Lu, who was familiar and trusted, in order to reduce her vigilance, he would have got rid of her long ago. Sijins turned his head, grabbed Ran Myugsun's hand, carefully removed the debris from her wound, and disinfected her. Putting the cotton ball that wiped off the blood aside, Sijins stared at the blood on her calf with deep eyes. "I really want to just lick it. Taste her, and her blood, what it tastes like." He leaned close to her calf and took a breath. Well, the fragrance of the virgin, and the exciting sweet smell of blood. Ran Myugsun froze there, and the expression on his face became a little stiff. Damn, her other senses are more sensitive when she can't see it. Although she can't see what he is doing, but she can feel. It only took more than 10 minutes to treat the wound, but Ran Myugsun felt that he was in a cold sweat. Sijins stood up, touched her head, and said, "Take a good rest. I'll call you after dinner." Before Ran Myugsun nodded, there was a little madman's voice in his mind, "Host, your temporary task has not been completed yet. Quickly wear and blacken, the sick and charming male god, sweet and up-to-date chapter address, melanization, the disease of the male, sweet fried full text reading address, wear blackening, I'm so sick, I'm so sweet, I've got a text download link, fast wearing and melanization, a sickly male god, sweetly blows up the phone." Reading, the convenience of reading next time. You can click favorites below to record this reading record, and you can see it next time you open the bookshelf. If you like quickly wearing darkness, the sick and depressed man, sweet blast, please ask your friends recommend this book. Thank you for your support. Temporary assignment. Talk to the target. With this pervert who licked her lips against her calf. Kiss. Ran Myugsun felt that even if he was not blind, his eyes were already completely dark. However, it is too inconvenient to be blind all the time. But it's just the lips, just like being bitten by a dog. Ran Myugsun told himself so. So she bit her scalp and grabbed Esijins by the corner of his clothes. Esijins froze for a moment, and followed her, grasping her hand to see her slightly open pink lips. Jinji, I'm scared. Ran Myugsun abruptly said something that made him feel goosebumps. Hearing the word Jinji, Esijin's eyes suddenly became cold, and the medicine cabinet in his hand made a muffled noise, and he put it on the table next to him. He stretched out his hand, lifted her chin, and bent down. Body. He swallowed her breath with his lips and tongue without hesitation. His kiss was too forceful and intense, and Ran Myugsun subconsciously wanted to protest, and his lips and tongue took advantage of the trend to deepen the kiss. Well. She was a little out of breath and tried to push him away, but Esijin seemed to lose his mind in an instant. He held her hand firmly and bit her lip. It hurts. Tasting the smell of blood in his mouth, Ran Mu found the feeling that Esijins wanted to swallow himself in his lower abdomen, but he didn't dare to resist too much, so he could only protest with weak red eyes. In the chaos, I seemed to hear the voice of the little madman, ding. The random task is completed. Congratulations to the host for getting 1 point. Will the host immediately exchange it for normal vision? Yes. She responded unconsciously in her mind. In the next second, the dark scene in front of me slowly changed to color, and the beautiful face that was so close in front of me was fully displayed in front of my eyes. Jianmei looked a little merciless, his deep black eyes that were still cold and bloodthirsty when kissing, were staring at her closely. She shivered. He finally let go of her and watched her breathe as he kissed her. Her chest rose and fell slightly, her lower lip bleeding. Esijins licked his lips, bent over again, and gently licked the wound on her lips. Pain. His voice is hoarse. Ran Myugsun shuddered, her voice aggrieved. Well, it hurts. In the face of this blackened disease, she can't resist too fiercely, otherwise it will only stimulate him and make him do more terrible things in advance. She still needs freedom now. Ran Myugsun told herself this, blinking his long eyelashes, and punched his chest. How can you be so rude to me? Esijins looked at her long eyelashes with dewdrops, and felt that she was being bullied and crying. It's so beautiful. It tickles his heart. I want to. I just tied her to the bed and pressed her under her body regardless. Bullied her to cry again and again. Sorry. He looked at her lips with his own breath, and slowly said, I can't help it for a while. Ran Mu searched for reddish cheeks and bit her lower lip. Next time, I won't let you bully me again. She said next time and bullying in such a soft tone of being bullied and so softly crying. It's not a protest at all, but a seduction. Esijins was choked with breath. This fairy. It is good. He said so, but suddenly realized that she was now thinking of herself as Esijin Z. In other words, even if Esijin Z treats her like this, she is still willing to let him bully her. Quickly wear black. Sick and charming male god, the latest chapter address, to wear and blacken, the disease is charming and the man is sweet, and the full text is exploded. Reading address, blackening, a sickly male god, sweet fried text download link, blackening, a sickly male god, sweetly blows up the phone. Reading, order to facilitate the next reading, you can click favorites below to record this reading record. Next open the bookshelf once to see it. If you like quickly wearing darkness, the sick and depressed man, sweet blast, please ask your friends recommend this book. Thank you for your support. The fist clenched tighter and tighter, and Esijin's originally emotional eyes became cold again. But the hand still stroked her hair softly. You have a good rest. I'm next door, and when you call, I will come over. It is good. Esijans went out. Ran Myugzun looked around for a while, and the next second, the little madman's words came in his mind, "Host, I advise you not to look around. In this room, including the bathroom, there are cameras installed." In other words, he knew what she was doing. Ran Myugzun cursed in his heart, "Esijans is a pervert. Little madman, host, now he is looking at you in the next room." The muscles on Ran Myugzun's face twitched, and it seemed that she could only sleep well. What's worse is that her eyes are now clearly healed, and she must continue to pretend to be invisible. The pupils stared straight ahead blankly, groping with her hands on the bed. She lay down and fumbled around, finally found the quilt, successfully covered the quilt and covered her face. Fortunately, with the quilt, she can pretend to be asleep. If you want to prevent this world from falling apart, you can't let the male lead die as before. Esijans hasn't appeared for a whole week, and she suddenly became a little worried. Wouldn't he have been killed by Esijans' pervert? Asking the system in his heart, the little madman said, "No, the male lead was taken to an isolated island in South Africa by Esijans. He was injured and he is still lying on the hospital bed. But just a word from Esijans. If that happens, he will die." Ran Myugzun's heart became weak. She had to figure out a way to prevent him from killing Esijans while attacking Esijans' pervert. But Esijans is on the small African island, she is really beyond her reach, and to be honest, she is now a little hard to protect herself. If she hadn't been blind and recognized Esijans as Esijans, Esijans would have been long ago. Can't help but imprison her. Ran Myugzun trembled at the thought of this. No, headache, she should take a nap first and let her nerves rest for a night. Closed his eyes, Ran Myugzun fell asleep. But she woke up again in less than an hour. A big hand was holding her waist tightly. Jindao was a little out of breath. She woke up probably because of this, right? You don't need to look at it, you know who the owner of this hand is. Esijans, this pervert. However, she dared not move. In the middle of the night, a man and a widow, she showed that she had mistaken him for her fiancé, Esijans. If she accidentally wiped the gun and went off, he knew that she was awake and what to do to her. It's really hard for her to refuse. Ran Myugzun lay stiffly, not even daring to swallow. The man put her in his arms and buried her head between her neck. He sprayed her steady and powerful breath on her collarbone, and his voice was lustful, "Are you the little fairy sent by God to torture me? I really want to tear your clothes and taste your taste." In the darkness, Ran My's pupils shrank suddenly. Her body, actually because of his words. It reacted. Damn it, why didn't she just fall asleep? How could she wake up at this time? Now. Really don't need to sleep anymore. Others are sitting on pins and needles, and Ran Myugzun feels that he is sleeping like pins and needles at the moment, and his whole body is extremely uncomfortable, but he dare not even move. Quick wearing Blackening, the sick and charming male god, sweetly exploded the latest chapter address, book/113768.html. Quick wearing and Blackening, a sickly male god, sweet to blow up the full text reading address, .mtlnovel.com/read/113768/quick wearing Blackening, a sickly male god, sweet fried text download address, https. I really want to embed you in my body, let your flesh and blood blend with me, so that you can no longer escape. Ran, you are mine, and no one can take you away from me, including you yourself. As if he knew she was awake, he leaned against her ear and spoke word by word, holding her earlobe, licking and kissing very softly and abnormally. Ran Myugzun was terrified for a while. He felt that if she was found awake by him at this moment, he might stop pretending to be a pig and eat a tiger, but would just take off the sheep's skin and eat her. He lay nervously, and seemed to fall asleep tiredly in the middle, but he didn't sleep for a while and woke up immediately. In this way, I was tortured all night, half dreaming and half awake, and when it felt dawn, Ran Myugsun finally relaxed. As soon as she relaxed, she felt the strangeness of her body. Maybe she drank too much water before going to bed last night. She was nervous for too long and didn't feel it. Now that she relaxes, she can't bear it anymore. Her face was flushed with suffocation, for fear that she would really pee. Ran Myugsun gritted her teeth, pretended to roll over, and opened her eyes. When she moved, Sijin's next to her woke up immediately. The arms around his waist became harder, and Sijin's voice was husky and sleepy. Where to go? Ran Myugsun said stiffly, go to the toilet. In the next second, she was directly picked up by him. What? She exclaimed, no, no, I can do it myself. Not in a hurry. His voice rang in his ears. Talk as you speak, why do you stay so close? Ran Myugsun's heart was a little frustrated. Forget it, he has held it so many times anyway. Ran Myugsun found that his bottom line was tossed lower and lower by Sijin's. But soon, she collapsed again. Hug and hug, anyway, under his nose, if she wants to pretend to be blind and walk to the bathroom, she doesn't know how long she will go, and he hugs her faster. However, after he carried her to the toilet, the next step was to take off her pants. Fortunately, Ran Myugsun responded quickly and quickly held his hand. No, I will come by myself. Her entire face was flushed, but it was not because of shyness, but because of annoyance. This pervert! She was just going to the toilet, and he actually wanted to take off her pants. Damn, if in her world. At this moment, he had been knocked out by her headshot and pressed her pee in the toilet. It happened that in this world, in order not to irritate the sick, she could only continue to put up with her frailty. Sijin squinted his eyes and glanced at his grasped hand. What she just did? Is it too fast? He stared into her eyes thoughtfully for a while. Ran Myugsun was staring at him and his scalp was numb. Wouldn't he, have he discovered it? She has tried very hard to pretend that her eyes are dull. Even her eyes have been trying to stare at only one place. She should seem quite apathetic. He won't notice it, right? Fortunately, he was just skeptical. In the next second, he withdrew his hand and said, okay, come by yourself. Don't force it, if you need anything, just call me right away, I'm right outside the door. Just outside the door. The corners of Ran Myugsun's mouth began to twitch. She resisted, and tried to laugh out a little. I see, you go out. Seeing her blushing and shy, Sijin went out. Quick wearing Blackening, the sick and charming male god, sweetly exploded the latest chapter address, book/113768.html. Quick wearing and Blackening, a sickly male god, sweet to blow up the full text reading address, .mtlnovel.com/read/113768/ quick wearing Blackening, a sickly male god, sweet fried text download address. Fortunately, Sijin did not reluctantly, stood up, asked Aunt Lu to pack her things, and took her back to his room on the second floor. Ran Myugsun was already numb, so he held him to the bed and sat down, thinking he was finally able to relax, but he did not leave. Instead, he suddenly grabbed a strand of her long hair and put it under his nose to smell it, and then took a deep breath, looking intoxicated, and put it to his lips again. Kissed. In his mind, the little madman was already screaming excitedly. Host! Does he think you are very fragrant and delicious? When it's over, I think he can't wait. This little madman, seeing such a perverted scene, is so excited. It really is a perverted system. Host, I heard. The little madman said quietly. Ran Myugsun wanted to pretend that he didn't know what Sijin did, but saw Sijin suddenly leaning closer, less than a centimeter in front of her. Take a deep breath. Ran Myugsun's cold sweat suddenly came down. Jinji? Aren't you going to work? However, Sijin sighed quietly. Ran, You haven't bathed in 2 days. So, he just smelled her, did he dislike her for the smell? Ran Mu's mouth twitched. I'll wash it in a while. Do you need help? His voice was a little hoarse. Ran Myugzun smiled stiffly, no, I'll let Aunt Lu come over in a while. Jinji, you will be late if you don't go to work. Sijins looked at her. He just lifted her hair's fingers and gently stroked the soft skin on her shoulders and neck. Seeing her shivering unconsciously, he finally couldn't help but laugh. Okay, then Ran remember to wash it, otherwise, it will be moldy. Got it. It's moldy. He held it so tightly last night, and when he smelled her, he looked like he wanted to swallow her. Sijins finally went out. Ran Mu sniffed the smell on her body. Okay, she hasn't bathed in this world for more than 24 hours, but she smelled it clearly without any smell. When she thought that Sijins was also being monitored in the bathroom, she didn't want to go in for a bath at all. But if he didn't wash it, he would definitely know, and he might even help her wash it in the future. That's horror. The little madman is still a pity, host. I think letting him help you wash will help increase the relationship between the attacker and the host. Sorry, his possessiveness towards her is already terribly strong, so there is no need to increase it. Biting the bullet and groping to grab a set of conservative clothes, Ran Mu went into the bathroom. She didn't plan to call Aunt Lu. It would be too uncomfortable to let others take a bath for herself, even if they were all women. Soaking in the warm water, Ran Myugzun closed his eyes, feeling too comfortable to speak. Then, she suddenly felt something was wrong. Someone is watching her. After the cold sweat came down, Ran Myugzun took a deep breath, and asked the little madman in his mind, Sijins that pervert, is it watching me on the monitor? The little madman hesitated, that, host, I think, your imagination can be expanded a bit. There was a strange smell in the bathroom suddenly. Ran Mu searched for a chill on his back. She felt that there were other people in the bathroom. Yu Guangli, Sijins, who appeared at no time, is standing in front of a full-length mirror only 1 meter away from her. Quickly wear black, Bing Jiao Male God, the latest chapter address, to wear and blacken, the disease is charming and the man is sweet, the full text read address, and melanization, I'm so sick, I'm so sweet, I'm so sweet. The text download link, Blackening, a sickly male god, sweetly blows up the phone. Reading, order to facilitate the next reading, you can click favorites below to record this reading record, next open the bookshelf once to see it. If you like quickly wearing darkness, the sick and depressed man, sweet blast, please ask your friends recommend this book, thank you for your support.